Hi, Josh Centers here. Today we're delving into one of my big areas of expertise. Apple has announced an event October 30th, the end of this month, in Brooklyn, New York. And we're going to take a look at what they're going to announce, what they're most likely to announce. So be sure, hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell so you get future video updates. Lots of stuff coming down this pipe, guys. Okay, the first thing we're going to look at, there's definitely going to be an iPad. And this is something I've been hearing about from my own sources for quite some time. In essence, expect what can best be described as the iPad X, the iPad 10, however you want to describe it. It's going to be an iPad Pro based heavily on the iPhone 10 design. So, will it have a notch? I'm not sure about that. What I can say, what I've been hearing, is that you can expect this tablet to drastically shrink the bezel, if not almost entirely eliminate it. Expect Face ID, expect the sensors for that. That's really the big update. And my understanding, these processors are just going to be absolutely insane. Now, whether that matters or not, I don't know. But we do know that the full Adobe Photoshop is coming to the iPad. It's coming next year. Adobe's already announced it, showed it off. We might learn more about it at this event. So that's the thing I'll wait and see on. But that's something that would definitely show off processor power. I've used Affinity Photo on my 10.5-inch iPad Pro. It's a neat program, but you can tell it's really CPU constrained. There are some things on it that just chug, even on this fairly high-end machine. So curious to see what Apple has there. But expect big CPU update there. Next up, we have the MacBook and/or the MacBook Pro. I'm not sure what this new product will be called. There's a lot of, and I haven't heard anything personally about this, but there's a lot of stuff in the rumor mill. The usually reliable Mark Gurman from Bloomberg has been reporting on this, that Apple is working on a MacBook Air successor. That they introduced the MacBook a few years ago. It's the first one that had that butterfly, that flat keyboard. It only had the single USB-C port. Not a very successful product, as far as I know. I don't know what the sales figures are. I've never seen one in the wild, though. The MacBook Air was wildly successful. It was almost Apple's default Mac there for a few years. But I don't see a lot of people with the basic MacBook, and I'll tell you why. Yes, the screen is delightful, that Retina, beautiful, lush Retina screen, but you had the weird, flat, easy to get stuck keys of the butterfly keyboard. You had only the single USB-C port, and that hasn't really gotten better. The hubs aren't really that great for USB-C just yet, and it's been 3, 4 years now waiting on that. So I'm not sure how much better that's going to get. But the worst thing about the basic MacBook was the 1 gigahertz processor. I think if you compared it side by side to an iPad Pro, it would likely lose, at least in terms of bare iron. So just not a really compelling product. And then meanwhile, I still see a lot of the MacBook Airs out in the wild. Still a wildly successful product. No Retina screen, hasn't had a significant update in a long time. It's been a couple of years since I've seen any update at all. I'm really hoping Apple has something here. If nothing else, I'd like to at least see a MacBook with a beefier processor, maybe 2 USB-C ports at the very least. Also at an affordable price point. The basic MacBook has been a bit on the spendy side, so I'm really hoping Apple has something there, because right now I have a 2016 MacBook Pro. It's an all right laptop. I do have my issues with it. I haven't had that much trouble with the keyboard, although I did get one stuck key that I managed to fix with a toothpick. But the machine costs $2,500, and I use this iMac here as my daily driver. I don't need a $2,500 laptop. I don't think even a lot of Apple professionals need that sort of expensive machine. So hopefully Apple has something they can sell college students. They can sell people who don't need all that extra power that they just do not need. All right, next up in the rumor mill is the Mac Mini. The Mac Mini has not received an update in over 4 years. And even when it did, in a lot of ways, it was a downgrade from the 2012 model. There were some faster CPUs, but then Apple made it so you could not upgrade the RAM yourself. I think they sealed it in with glue. They just opened up the old Mac Mini and just filled that sucker with glue. The rumor I'm hearing, and again, this is a Mark Gurman rumor, so fairly reliable, is that there's going to be a professional grade Mac Mini, something aimed at the professional market. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than the traditional Mac Mini. You know, as you might remember, last decade when they unveiled the Mac Mini, it started at $500. It got a little more expensive over time, but always stayed between that $500 to $1,000 range. It requires the external monitor, requires external keyboard and mouse. It was built for a time when Apple was still, really trying to push the Mac, and they wanted to win over Windows users. And we're in a bit of a different world now. There is a call, I think, for a modular professional machine. Now, whether that's what we see or not, I don't know. We might see a miniature version of the trash can Mac Pro from 2013. I don't know. I would really like to see something like a mini ITX tower that you can upgrade the CPU and the RAM in. I'm not going to hold my breath for that. That's not the direction Apple apparently wants to go. And also, they got this Mac Pro. The 2013 redesign of the Mac Pro was an utter disaster. Not a good machine for most professionals. Apple has, given out the full mea culpa. They did that last year. But then it's going to be at least 2019. They've said before they released that machine. And so I think if we're going to be a simple cheese grater, beige box like the old Mac Pro, they could have put it out a lot faster. They're doing something. They're overthinking it, honestly. I mean, I have a wait and see attitude on this Mac Mini if we get one, and a wait and see attitude on the Mac Pro. Now, I'm curious if they may show off this new Mac Pro at this event. It would be a good event for it because the invite they sent out, it was every party that was invited got a different invite. It was a different painting of an apple, and the event's being held in Brooklyn. So I'm thinking this is definitely something aimed at creatives. So obviously, professional iPad makes sense. But they may show off this new Mac Pro. Apple used to not want to show off products until they had something for sure that was going to ship either right then or very soon. The iPhone was a famous exception. Steve Jobs announced that 6 months before it shipped. But for more recently, or later in the Jobs era, he didn't like doing that. But now, serving the Tim Cook era, they'll announce things sometimes years before they ship, like the AirPower charging mat. Which, where the heck is that? So I would like to see this Mac Pro. I at least like to know what direction they're going in. My dream would be for a mini ITX sort of form factor Mac Mini that had a little bit of upgradability, and then a big, easy to upgrade Mac Pro. I just want a PC-like tower in the Mac world. And I understand Apple doesn't want to sell that to everybody. I understand the Apple vision of a computer is an appliance and it's an all-one thing. You don't have to buy a separate monitor and keyboard and mouse and box, and I understand that. I get that. I understand the Steve Jobs vision. The iMac is basically the Steve Jobs vision. Everything's all in one, and that's great. But it's like Steve Jobs said when he introduced the iPad. We have cars and we have trucks. Hey, a lot of people still need their big dump trucks. Okay, and that's something I think the Mac world also needs. Looking at the iMac, I don't expect much, if anything, from the iMac. We just got an iMac Pro in December, and we just got a refresh of the basic model iMacs last year also. So I'm not going to hold my breath on that. We might get small spec bumps. Whether they actually mention those at the event, if we do get those, anyone's guess. Probably not. My guess would be they would just quietly announce those on the website, just like, okay, and then they may not even make an announcement. Maybe those things you have to check out. You have to keep your eyes tuned on TidBITS or Mac Rumors or 9 to 5 Mac, one of these sites. And oh yeah, by the way, they added all these new options today and didn't even mention it, because I think these machines are still doing the jobs they're meant to do. I think actually, I'm not so sure about the Mac Pro. I'm a little leery of the Mac Pro for a lot of reasons, but the 27-inch iMac I still think is one of the excellent values in the Apple world. You can upgrade the RAM. The screen is gorgeous, and the screen itself justifies the price. You're not going to find, I don't think, a better screen for the money. anywhere in the computing world. Another great value that I don't think we'll get an update for is the base model 329 iPad, which of course that came out last year, supported the Apple Pencil, just incredible value. You know, one of the reasons I bought my 10.5-inch iPad Pro was so I could test the Apple Pencil with it. If I'd known this machine was coming, I might have held off a little bit and saved quite a bit of money. I think for a lot of people, that basic $300 329 iPad does the job just fine. So, but I think Apple needs to find a way to differentiate that cheap model for the education market and for the basic consumer from the iPad Pro, because so I'm a professional here, and I'm saying right now, why would I spend the $800 on an iPad Pro when I can get pretty much everything I need for $300? So that's something Apple's going to have to answer, and cynically, one of the ways Apple can answer that is just by not updating that 329 iPad for a couple of years and letting it linger a little bit. You can still do the job. It'll still get updates, but maybe they won't update that so much. They'll focus more on this iPad Pro. They'll add some neat features to it that, things like Face ID that can distinguish it, and they might have some creative uses for Face ID that we haven't seen in the iPhone 10. For instance, the Photo Booth app, which is not on the iPhone, it's an iPad exclusive. That has a lot of interesting possibilities with that Face ID sensor. It can do the, scan your face, do the AR thing, stuff like Memoji. There's a lot of interesting 3D animated stuff they can do with that. The iPhone 10 has become sort of infamous in movie making circles for its cheap motion capture. And I've heard a lot of stuff like, look, the iPhone 10 can do the kind of motion capture that it used to cost tens of thousands of dollars to accomplish just 2 or 3 years ago in Hollywood. So there's a lot of potential there. I'll be curious to see if Apple truly taps into that. So that's all for now. That's what I think we'll see at this event. iPad Pro, an iPad X, iPad 10, whatever you want to call it. That's definite. That's a given. A successor for the MacBook Air, I think very likely, and hopefully we'll see that. A new professional grade Mac Mini. I'm less certain about that. Really hope we see it though. But I would give that like a 55-60% chance of happening. Preview of the Mac Pro. I haven't heard anything about it. But I'm going to say I'm going to flip a coin. 50% chance we're going to see at least a preview of the Mac Pro, and it's possible that the Mac Mini will be a small version of this Mac Pro. I don't know. Maybe, and I'm just dreaming here. Maybe the Mac Mini will be Mini ITX, and the new Mac Pro will just be a big tower, and that's why they haven't revealed it yet. But I don't think that's probably not what we're getting, unfortunately. And as far as the iMac, don't hold your breath. And finally, just in case anyone mentions it, look, we've already got the iPhones this year. There's no surprises there. We've already got the Apple Watch. No surprises there. I do think we'll get a new Apple Pencil. I'm not sure what exactly we're getting there. We could get the AirPower Mat. I don't think that's likely either. New AirPods, maybe, probably not. I think this is very much a iPad, MacBook, professional, creative focused event. Therefore, why it's in Brooklyn, why we're getting these creative announcements. So that's the summary. So check back with you then. We'll see what they announce. Take care, and be sure to like and subscribe. Check out my articles on TidBITS.com. Check out my books at TakeControlBooks.com. Thanks for supporting me. Take care. God bless.